I never imagined my marriage would fall apart the way it did. I always thought if anything ever tore us apart, it would be something explosive like betrayal, financial ruin, or a fight too big to repair. But the truth is, it wasn't any of those. It was words, sharp, reckless. Words that I was never meant to hear. Words that cut so deep I knew in that instant nothing between us could ever be the same. And the worst part, they came from the woman I trusted most in this world, my wife. It happened on a completely ordinary Saturday evening. I had just returned from running errands. The car was still full of groceries, but the moment I stepped inside, I heard laughter coming from the living room. At first, it made me smile. My wife had a couple of friends over. I figured they were just chatting, sharing stories like they always did. But then I froze. Something about the sound of that laughter was different. It wasn't warm. It was sharp, almost mocking. I set the bags down quietly and, instead of going in, I stayed hidden in the hallway. That's when I heard it, my wife's voice. The same woman who once vowed to love me, cherish me, and build a life with me. She was mocking me. He tries so hard to act like he's this confident man, she said, her voice followed by waves of laughter. But it's actually embarrassing. He doesn't even realize how pathetic he looks sometimes. My chest tightened. My heart dropped. First, I prayed I was mistaken, that maybe she was talking about someone else. But then one of her friends snickered. Yeah, I've noticed too, the way he talks like people take him seriously. It's kind of sad. They all laughed again. Then my wife added, and don't even get me started on the way he dresses. Told him so many times to try harder, but he just doesn't get it. Sometimes I look at him and wonder how I ended up with someone like that. Her words hit me like blades, each one heavier than the last. My hands shook, my throat tightened, and my heartbeat roared in my ears. This wasn't teasing. This was cruelty. This was my wife turning me into a joke for her friends. I wanted to storm in right away, but I stood there longer, listening as they laughed at me, my wife at the center of it all. And something inside me snapped. I walked into the living room. The laughter died immediately. Their faces went pale. My wife's smile disappeared. The moment she saw me, the room went silent. I stared at each of them, her so-called friends who egged her on. Then I turned to my wife. My voice shook, but it was firm. Everybody out of my home now. They sat frozen, stunned. I repeated it, louder this time, get out of my house. Rage and humiliation burned in my chest. They scrambled for their things, leaving without a word. When the door finally slammed shut, my wife turned to me, her face pale, her hands trembling. She tried to reach out. Wait, listen. It's not what you think. We were just joking. I didn't mean any of it. Please, calm down. But I couldn't calm down. My voice broke as I looked into her eyes, the same eyes I once thought would never betray me. Take your clothes and go with them. Tomorrow, we're getting a divorce. Tears filled her eyes instantly. Tried to grab my arm, desperate to explain, but I pulled away. I didn't want excuses. I didn't want to hear how it was a joke. The damage was already done. Those words were spoken, and they could never be taken back. The rest of the night blurred. She cried and begged, but I didn't move. In my mind, all I could see was her laughing at me over and over. Her voice replayed like an echo. Embarrassing. Pathetic. How did I end up with him? Those weren't the words of love. They were the words of someone who didn't respect me. And respect is the backbone of a marriage. Without it, love cannot stand. By morning, she packed a bag. The silence was unbearable. She whispered apologies over and over, but I wasn't angry anymore. Just hollow. The kind of hollow you feel when you realize the person you counted on never really valued you at all. That Monday, I filed for divorce. Fought it, said I was being dramatic, that I was throwing everything away over a misunderstanding. But it wasn't a misunderstanding. I had heard every single word, and those words showed me exactly how she saw me. Looking back, I realized that wasn't the start of the end, it was the end itself. I just needed to hear it to finally accept it. If your partner can laugh at you, belittle you, and mock you when you're not there, then the love you thought existed was a lie. Walking away was painful, but it was freeing. Because in that emptiness I found clarity. I'd rather be alone than stay with someone who thought of me as a punchline. And that's how a marriage I once believed would last forever ended in a single night. Not from betrayal, not from lies, but from something even more crushing: disrespect.